Shabbat Shalom. So we are heading into election season. It seems like we've been in election season since 2012. But the actual first votes have happened. And the second primary will be happening this week in New Hampshire. And a lot of the questions that people have been asking on the news and asking people is, what are the character traits that you're looking for in the next president? And I want you to think about that. And if you could offer some things without any bias or just some like actual character traits, I'd love to hear some of them. Patience. Something like that. That's a good example of something I'd like to hear. Honesty. Okay.
Integrity. That's never happened.
Capability.
Sorry?
Capability.
Moral values. Yes.
Keeping cool under pressure.
Cool under pressure. Yes.
Compassion.
Anyone else? Yes.
Empathy for the people.
Empathy.
Magnanimity.
Leadership.
Ability and desire to negotiate.
Ability and desire to negotiate. Flexibility, let's call that. Flexibility, yeah. Leadership, yeah, good. Okay. So, every presidential election, these traits kind of change, and it changes upon which political party you're affiliated with. One of the most common ones are honesty and willingness to talk about the challenges affecting the nation. So the idea of being honest and being able to confront the real challenges that we have. This week's Parsha Mishpatim, as I mentioned before, is right after Yitro, right after Sinai, and we have here a flood of commandments, 53 separate mitzvot, 53 separate commandments. And I think perhaps the most difficult one to follow, living in today's day and age, might be contained within these commandments. I'm going to read it to you right now, in Hebrew and English. Elohim lo tekalel, that's easy. V'nasi be'amcha lo ta'or. You shall not revile God, nor curse a nasi among your people. The word for nasi is translated as leader, but there's another way of translating that term, and if you know a little bit of modern Hebrew, you know what does nasi mean? President. Can you imagine if this law was enforced here in America? I think we'd all be in jail at one point or another in our lives, right? You cannot curse the president. That's what this says. So there were no presidents back then, but there were kings. And Ibn Ezra, the famous medieval commentator, says that the Nasi here is none other than the king, the Melech, of Deuteronomy chapter 17, verses 14 to 20. And you can look in your books and you can see it right there. That's what he says the Nasi is. Not a chieftain, the head of a tribe, but the actual king, the monarch of Israel. So it's time for us to choose our next king or queen, and oftentimes we focus on issues. Will the candidate support my side, the thing that I care most about? I think that is the thing that people most look at when they choose to vote for. But one of the things I think we should ask are, what are the qualities of that person? The things that we talked about today. What are the qualities of that next Nasi that we are looking for? And the question is, in the Torah, that we have to ask ourselves, who was that Nasi, and why can't we curse them? So let's go forward actually to Deuteronomy, Devarim, 17, 14 through 20. I'm going to paraphrase a little bit. We see certain requirements for what this king should be. The king has to be one of your own. Okay, so born in the Israelite kingdom, right? naturalization, long-form birth certificate, all that stuff. He cannot keep many horses or get more horses from Egypt. He should not have many wives or amass silver and gold to excess. On his throne, he shall have a copy of the Torah written on a scroll by the Levitical priests, and he will hold on to that scroll and read it all the days of his life. These are what the qualities or the requirements for the king. So Rambam, Maimonides, explains this mitzvah in his Mishneh Torah. And he says, just as the Torah grants the king great honor and obliges everyone to revere him, so it commands him to be lowly and empty at heart. Nor should he treat Israel with overbearing haughtiness. He should be gracious and merciful to the small and the great, involving himself in their good and welfare. He should protect the honor of even the humblest of men. When he speaks to the people as a community, he should speak gently. He should always conduct himself with great humility. So it was interesting here. I heard the word magnanimous, leadership, but no one said humble. No one said humble. So this week there was a town hall debate, the Democratic town hall debate between Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton. It was in New Hampshire. And there was a rabbi, a conservative rabbi with a large uppercase C, meaning conservative movement, our movement. Jonathan Spira Savet, and he is a rabbi in New Hampshire. Do you know him?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
Grew up at my synagogue.
Oh, yeah. And Rabbi Morris Allen, who's the rabbi at Beth Jacob, he actually posted it, and that's how I saw it. But it made national news. This rabbi's question made national news. And I want to read it to you. First of all, they introduced him as a rabbi, and he said, another rabbi, Rabbi Simcha Bunim, taught that every person has to have two pockets. And in each pocket, they have to carry a different note. And the note in one pocket says, the universe was created for me. And in the other pocket, the note says, I am just dust and ashes. And I want you to take a moment and think about what you would tell us about your two pockets. How do you cultivate the ego that we all know you must have, a person must have to be the leader of the free world? And also the humility to recognize that we know that you can't be expected to be wise about all things, that the president has to be responsible for it. So she answered, and does anyone see this, by the way? Everyone, yeah? So it's a really interesting dialogue between the two. You can watch on YouTube. She answers by talking about her struggle of ambition and humility. And ultimately, this is what that struggle of the two pieces of paper is. Ambition, humility. Ego, humility. Leaders have to have a belief within them that they can do things better than anyone else, because why else would they be running? They have something within them. They have to think they have something within them that's greater than others. And yet at the same time, they have to hold that other piece of paper in their hand that to protect themselves from their own egos. That there can be room for others in their lives and in their leadership. So they have to have ambition, but they also have to be completely humble. Rabbi, not completely. Because that leads me to another teaching I found. Rabbi Avram Yitzchak Kook, the famous rabbi from, who was the chief rabbi of Jerusalem in the early 1900s. He says, when humility brings about depression, it is defective. When it is genuine, it inspires joy, courage, and inner dignity. Leadership is about finding the right kind of humility, and also recognizing that the inner essence of you, the thing that you have that maybe no one else has, was given to you by God. Was given to you by God. You have to recognize that that great thing that you have didn't come from you, but it came from a divine source, the divine source. There's a famous Hasidic Rabbi, Yisachar Ber of Zloshov, who wrote that one must look at yourself as if you were a channel for the divine attributes. You are a part of God, and God is a part of you. And now that we know that, and we look at the qualities of a Nasi, we can see why there's this prohibition against cursing them. And in fact, how we should try to embody that quality, the balancing act of ambition and humility, not just them, but for us. So valid criticism of leaders is not only allowed, but it's actually vital to our future. And we saw that last week in our parashah. Yitro challenges Moses. Moshe Rabbeinu, this is the top guy. Yitro, his father-in-law, challenges him to do things better. He says, delegate. Delegate. You need to be a different type of leader if you're going to bring these people to the promised land. And he is the beginning of creating the court system that we have here in Mishpatim. The prophets, as well, the Nevi'im, were famous for criticizing the kings of Israel, but only for the purpose of making them better. Criticism is not cursing. Cursing a leader is a different issue. And Rambam Maimonides, he teaches us that actually cursing is a form of anger, which he says is a destructive emotion. There's that fine line. There's a 14th century rabbi, Menachem Rakanti. If you buy wine, he's a winer. Yeah, he's a vineyard. He points out that cursing the leadership, even if it has no physical effect, may convince people that leadership is a thankless task and discourages people from taking positions of public service. That this is the price of cursing. This is the price of, unfortunately, the society we live in. In this one mitzvah, you shall not curse a Nasi, the Torah teaches us this valuable lesson. It teaches us how to be the best leaders that we can be, to embody the right type of humility. It's not just about the president, it's about you. It teaches us not only that, but how to be the best followers that we can be. To criticize our leaders for the sake of making them better, but also giving us the warning not to curse them, because cursing our leaders doesn't just affect them, it affects us. It fuels the anger within us, and it convinces others, including our children, that leadership isn't worth it. Why be a leader when this is going to happen to me? And this is, I think, something that all of us as Americans need to think really deeply about our public discourse as we enter into these months leading up to this election that seems to have been lasting for years and years and years. And we have a sacred task ahead of us. That it's not just about our leaders, but each one of us on how we handle ourselves, how we talk to each other, how we talk about our leaders. So you might wonder, what was her response? I just gave you a little bit of it, and I think her answer was really interesting. I want to read it to you, and I think maybe we can all gain great insight from it. She said, regardless of how hard the days are, how difficult the decisions are, be grateful. Be grateful for being a human being part of the universe. Be grateful for your limitations. Know that you have to reach out to have more people be with you, to support you, to advise you. Listen to your critics. Answer the questions. But at the end, be grateful. Practice the discipline of gratitude. So may we all seek that balance. Not just the presidents, not just those running for office, but each one of us, the balance of ambition, ego, and humility. May we constructively criticize more and curse less. And may we all practice gratitude that God, that Hashem, this divine source, is a part of us, and we are a part of God. Shabbat Shalom.